So welcome to the 7th section of Blockfuse Labs Cairo Bootcamp. Today we are going to be talking about front-end integration with Starknet. And it has been an interesting weeks coming along, about 6 weeks, and you guys are here now. So you are here right at the interesting parts of building dApps, which a lot of you might find it boring to write smart contracts, but possibly find it interesting to integrate smart contracts, which is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be integrating some of the smart contracts we have written over the weeks, and then let's have a virtual representation and give the client something to interact with. So my name is Manu, and I'm going to be your mentor for today. I'm a blockchain developer, and I've been building in the Starknet ecosystem for quite a while now. I hope you guys can hear me, just to be sure that I'm very much audible to everyone. Great. All right, so for today's agenda, we're going to be discussing some certain tools that we are going to be working with to be able to integrate smart contracts to front end. For the front end, we are going to be working with the regular tools that you know, like React, Next.js, and whatsoever tool you use for your front end. There is a package available for you to integrate with. But for this session, we are going to be concentrating on the JavaScript side of things because it is the most popular framework for building front-end application. So that's what we are going to be exploring. And then we'll look into a very important SDK, which is the Starknet.js SDK, that gives us access to APIs and providers that we could use to integrate our smart contracts. And finally, we are going to also be checking StarknetKit, which is a smaller version or a lightweight version of the Starknet.js. Next on our list, we are going to be working with common APIs like providers, signers, and accounts. And before then, we are going to try to establish a connection to a node to be able to interact with our smart contracts. Then finally, there's one more thing on the agenda, which is understanding APIs and smart contract interaction. So we're going to be looking at this in theory and at the end in practical also. So we'll try to build a very simple dApp and then integrate from end to end. All right, so let's get to business. So like I said, there are so many libraries you could explore if you want to build on the Starknet ecosystem. It doesn't have to be Starknet.js. You can work with Starknet Rust, which is Starknet RS, Starknet PY for integrating with Python, and then lastly, Starknet.js that we have. There are also great tools like Starknet React, which is more of hooks that have been written down, predefined hooks that makes your job much more easier. And also with StarknetKit. I've mentioned StarknetKit initially, but we're also going to be using Starknet React, integrating with both of them hand in hand. All right. So to the first session, what is, before we go deep, what is Starknet.js and StarknetKit? So Starknet.js is a library that helps us to connect your website or your decentralized application, which is dApps, to a blockchain-based Starknet network. That's just what Starknet.js is from. And then the idea is using languages like JavaScript or TypeScript to be able to integrate this. So if you are not working with these two languages, you cannot work with Starknet.js. You can choose to go with any of the alternatives that I mentioned initially. So it has access to a lot of methods that we can be able to access to trigger connections and also interactions with the Starknet blockchain. And then next, StarknetKit. So StarknetKit is a software development kit, which is designed to facilitate the connection with decentralized application on Starknet. So Starknet.js and StarknetKit are basically doing the same thing, but StarknetKit was designed to be a much more lightweight version of Starknet.js, but under the hood, it is still working with Starknet.js method. But it is just a simpler version to help developers integrate with Starknet smart contracts. So this is a simple example of what it looks like. So in case you have connected to any Starknet app and then you see a modal like this, just know you're working with Starknet Kit. So it gives us access to, or it allows us to connect to various connectors like Agent X, the Agent Mobile, Bravos, and also Web Wallet, and others too that also exist, like the cartridge connector, which we can use to, which is a provider that we can use to interact with the blockchain also, and many others like Klepta and stuff like that. So there are a lot of providers that we could easily use, but StarknetKit is that framework that gives us access to make that connection possible. So to interact with a blockchain or to interact with a smart contract, you need to take like 3 simple steps when you are trying to interact with a smart contract on the Starknet blockchain. First and foremost, we all know that the blockchain is a blank box, which is it exists in its own isolated layer. And then to be able to have an interaction with the blockchain, you need a connection to one of the nodes. And then we all know what nodes are. They are the data layer of the blockchain that gives us access to interact with it. So the first thing we need to do is to connect to a blockchain node. We are going to learn that subsequently in the class. And then lastly, connect to an account, which is with the aid of the providers, we can easily help to access any of the providers we want, like Agent X or Bravos or Cartridge. And then with this, it's going to help us generate a key pair, key value pair, which are our public and private keys that we could use to get this account. And thus, we can use this account to either read from the blockchain or also write to the blockchain. So the account gives us the right to be able to sign transactions to the blockchain and also read. But it is not compulsory to use the account to read. We could also use public node RPCs to be able to read from the blockchain. It doesn't necessarily have to be the account, but it also serves that purpose. But the primary thing is for it to be able to sign transactions with the account. So no account, meaning no transactions on the blockchain, Starknet blockchain. And then lastly, once you have your account connected, you can be able to interact with the blockchain. And then this is going to be our agenda for today. Once we have achieved these 3 things, we know that we are good to go and you guys are ready to fly within the ecosystem. So next, which is the next session. So we'll just discuss this in theory first before we go deep into practical and then try to experiment stuff by ourselves. So we're going to look at some API providers, APIs that is given access to us by Starknet.js. So providers like we have the provider, the signer, and also finally an account. These are the APIs we are going to be working with to have a complete interaction with the blockchain. So there are 2 ways you can interact with the blockchain, and I'm 100% sure everybody on the course know that, either by reading or by writing. Once you have performed these 2 actions, automatically you have interacted with the blockchain. So don't look at it like it's some rocket science when I say interacting with the blockchain. It's just reading and writing. Reading to this from the state and writing to state. All right, so what's the provider? So the provider API allows us to interact with the Starknet network without signing transactions or messages. Yeah, can I proceed? I see a hand up.
Yeah, I think something is blocking your screen. I don't know, at the top right.
Okay. Yes. These guys have done an upgrade. I don't know what to do now. Are you guys still seeing it?
No, it's perfect
Your
now.
screen is okay now.
All right, perfect. So I thought you people were not able to view that part. That was why I was just leaving it there. Okay. So the provider is like a magic guy that allows us to interact with the Starknet network without signing transactions or messages. So you guys are well aware that I've talked to you guys about the two ways you can interact with the blockchain, either by reading or by writing. So by writing means you are signing a transaction or you are signing a message. Transactions are state changing calls that you make to the blockchain. I'm 100% sure everyone is aware of that. But with providers, you can interact with the blockchain, but without signing transactions or messages. Meaning with providers, you are allowed to make only read calls, because anytime we are signing a message or a transaction, it is a write call. So with provider, we're allowed to make only read calls. That's the use of that API. And then next is the signer. So the signer is the API that allows us to sign transactions and messages and allows us to get the public key. So that's the signer. It's another magic guy that has a particular power. And that power is to allow us make state changes to the blockchain and also gives us access to our public key. Everybody knows what a public key is. If you don't, you can signify while I explain. But I'm sure everybody knows what it is. Then lastly, the account guy. So an account extends the provider and inherits all of his methods. So first, with an account, we can create and verify signature with a custom signer. And then we can declare and deploy contracts. And lastly, with an account, we can also deploy a new account. So the account is like the Oga Patapata of things. I hope everyone on this call is Nigerian before I use pidgin and some people cannot understand. So that's what the account is. It's like a bigger version of the provider. So the provider allows us to only read, right? But with the accounts, we can read and we can also write and also perform other magical actions like declaring and deploying of smart contracts. So this is basically what it does. So we are safe to say the account can also control the signer, which is the guy that helps us sign transactions. So if you have an account, you have whatsoever it takes to be able to interact with the blockchain. Because with an account, you can read and you can also write. I hope that's clear. So with these two main concepts I've explained, we are good to go to start exploring. So these are other SDKs that you could check out, like the cartridge SDK, or although the cartridge SDK is somewhat embedded into the Starknet React. So with that, we can have access to the cartridge connector also without having to use the SDK different. Then there's one more I didn't add here, the Starknet, the Agent Invisible SDK, which is somewhat like the web wallet. So with the Invisible SDK, it manages session keys whereby you are able to sign an account with a normal pop-up modal. Think of Google, trying to sign up with Google. So that's what it does. So instead of you downloading an extension or a mobile app, what it just does is that it creates interface of a modal for you, and then it allows you sign transactions. Though the account it creates, it's solely managed by your email, and also an encryption key is saved within your device. So basically, that's what that is for. Currently, it has been subsetted, but you could also try to use it if you want to try it out. But so far, with the SDKs we are going to be working with, is going to give us a very good flow to having Web 2 like applications in Web 3. So you guys will not be needing any extra stuffs on the Starknet ecosystem. I think with the combination of Starknet React and Starknet Kit, you are good to go already. All right, so to this very amazing guy in the last session or in the third session, an ABI. What is an ABI? Is that a hand? Please, if your hand is up, just let me know because I'm not seeing the screen currently. But if it's people just joining and leaving, it's good. But call my attention if you want to ask a question or something. So what's an ABI? For those of you who have already been building in...
Yeah.
Yeah, proceed.
Okay. I'm part of the coming up Web 2 Advanced. So I just want to try. I think an API is application binary interface, something like that.
Perfect. So that's the full meaning of an ABI. It's an acronym, right?
So can I?
Application binary interface. So this guy just told us the acronym. Yeah.
So like what you said, I just want to complete it. So an ABI is just it's just like the way we use tool, the way we use like API to actually interact to the backend, to the front end. But in Web3, we actually use the smart contract API to actually interact to the front end and make the calls. So you can actually see what we're actually doing. So any function we have in the smart contract, you can able to interact to the front end. That is just what yes.
Interesting. So these guys explain, these two guys have explained what an ABI is. I don't even need to talk again. But in simple terms, I would just say an ABI is like a blueprint that explain what our smart contract look like the function it entails, the type of the functions, the state variables. So with this blueprint, we can give it to Starknet.js, which has a provider that can be able to look at this blueprint and then help us interact with whatsoever part of the smart contract we want to talk to. That's just basically what an API is. A simple blueprint that explains a lot of stuff about the smart contract that aids in letting the provider knows what contract or what method to interact with or which state and the types or the functions and the input variables that he accepts. You get. So full meaning ABI. Okay, now to the real textbook definition, because some people will know want their other colleagues' definition, right? So an ABI or application binary interface is a blueprint. I didn't read this. How did I know blueprint? That defines how to interact with a smart contract. It specifies the contract functions, the parameters they take, and how to format the data for calls. So enough of the theory, right? Let's build, because a lot of people have been hearing a lot of English and new terminologies that we have introduced you guys to. But without these terminologies, we cannot build. So let's build something. Okay, so before we build, let's head over to this very interesting documentation. So this is a documentation about StarknetKit, because that would be our first go-to location. So it has explained what StarknetKit is. They say it provides a user-friendly pop-up that allows users to choose from the main wallet options available on the Starknet network. Basically, you can check all the UX guidelines and how you can work with them. But what I want us to check out now is the demo dApp. So we're going to check the demo dApp, then we are going to try to check out the code base for the demo app. So the demo app is just a simple application that shows a lot of capabilities of what StarknetKit can be able to do. Yeah, so this is it. So it can help us with stuff like connect wallets, trying to trigger a connection. So you can see all the different connectors you can work with here. You can either connect with your Ready wallet, which is formerly mostly known as Agent X, right? Or Bravos, or your MetaMask, or you can connect with XVAS, depending on which of the connectors you want to work with, or the cartridge controller that I told you guys about, or the Ready mobile app, or the agent email. So we're going to walk through all of these, and then you see the different stuffs. Then we'll try to fix it. Is that a question? No. All right. So like this is the first connection. For those of you that don't have agents, you can try to download it. So you can see successfully it's connected. This is my agent address, and I have 0 ETH and stuff like that, right? So we can try to rectify some things like check out the connection. You can see our mode of connection. We're using the StarknetKit mobile. These are the different connectors we use, but we only work with one. You can choose to disconnect. You can also check out transactions or make a transaction like sending ERC20. I can choose to make the call. This was being integrated for me with the StarknetKit. It wants to transfer some ETH, about 0.00001 ETH to a particular address. So this is all what it can help us with. You can also make a multi-call. Everybody knows what a multi-call is, right? It's like making 2 or more interactions to the blockchain in one single transaction. So like this is an example. Here I'm making a transfer of ETH, if you can be able to read the call data, and then I'm making a transfer of ETH to 2 different people. So it will make this call, and then it will also make this other call. So this is just an example of a multi-call. I reject this because I don't want to send anything. You can also use it to sign a message. And then you just type in a message in here to submit, and then it's going to sign it for you, and you get the signature. You can also add different networks, add an ERC20 token, session keys, declare a contract. I think I like this one, right? So to declare a contract, you just upload the Sierra file, and then it's going to compile it to Kazin, and then finally it's going to declare it for you. I'm sure the previous method have already explained some of these terminologies I'm mentioning. You can also execute custom transactions and then sign custom messages. So these are just a bunch of methods that can be accessed with the StarknetKit SDK. So let's try to check it out now. So I've checked the demo. Now let's try to check in the repo, try to demystify it, as people will say. I don't know what's the meaning of that word, demystify. So this is an interesting repo by 7 contributors. I don't know who they are, but this is how you can choose. If you want to run it locally on your device, you could just clone the repo and then you try to run this. So everything here was integrated with StarknetKit and Starknet React. And it is a Next.js project. But I think what we're going to be trying is going to be React. Because React is a more flangier approach to new developers or new front-end developers. So let's try to check this out. So as you can see, this is a combination of Starknet React and Starknet.js. So you will see where we are getting the different chains from. These are the different chains we are going to be working with, either mainnet or Sepolia. And also these are the core methods we can be able to access. So to get the chains, you get it from Starknet React chains. And then to get the core methods we will want to work with, like the public provider and the Starknet config, we get it from the core stuffs. So the config is where we set all the necessary stuffs we need, like the chains, the different chains we want the user to see when he wants to connect. These are the different providers we want to work with. Then finally, the connectors that we would like to connect with. So these connectors are the list of all those stuffs we saw, like agent, bravos, and etc. So you just choose to filter which of the connection you want your users to interact with your dApp through. So this is just one of them. We could go sub and check the connectors at connectors. So you can see the different connectors and how they were set up. Okay, so what again? Then we could also have a look at the ABI. I've explained this. So this is a simple example of an ABI. This is for an ERC20. So this is what the ABI looks like. As you can see, it's just a simple, it looks like a JSON, an array of objects, right? That explains the different stuffs. Like here now, we have a transfer function. We have a type of function. The name of the function is transfer. The state mutability is external, meaning it's an external function. And then it accepts inputs like the recipient, which is a contract address, and also the amount, which is an integer of UN256. And then it outputs nothing after you make the score. So these are just different. This is just a simple example of an ABI. So we also have one here of a dummy contract. And then as you can see, this one is somewhat different like the other one. It has a function which is of name set number, of type mutability external, and then it accepts input of number, which is felt 252, and then it outputs nothing at the end of the day. So just a blueprint that I can use to understand what this smart contract looks like. So it can help Starknet React in integration. So you know what it looks like, and then it knows how to talk to it. All right, so what else haven't we checked? Okay, so this is the main component of the dApp that entails every single interaction we're going to be doing. Yep. So we can check all of them in the sub, like connection is currently under connects. So this is it. This is the connector button that shows different connectors and how to connect with them. So these guys work on this to make life easier for us, and then we could have like a look at how things work. So I disconnect. So let's try to replicate something like this. So we're going to build something very simple, which is a simple dApp that can be able to increment a value and also decrease it. It could help us read from the blockchain and also sign a simple transaction. So that's just what we are going to be doing. So I was trying to deploy a version of the contract, but I was having an error initially. But I'm sure you guys have deployed like plenty contracts now. So if I give you guys my source code, you can be able to give me a deployed version of the smart contract who is in agreement to that. So it's very simple. What I just want you guys to deploy is um, a counter contract that just increments and decrements a value. It has one state variable. All right, let me just copy and paste it. So this is it, counter.
Oh, I want to ask for those of us that miss how to deploy like Starknet, Starknet this thing. Can we like have that recording so that we can actually use
Which recording is that?
like deploying of Starknet? Because I don't know how to deploy Starknet or
For you
contracts.
to don't know how to deploy. It's super easy though. I don't know what was my own issue because I made some changes to my version recently. So I really don't want to waste time trying to fix it because I might end up just scattering some tools. So that's why I just left it.
I know Cairo have already have upgrades and so it's not like before again. So that's why I just need to.
Yeah, but the changes are quite minimal. It's not much changes that are usually done. It's just that it's been long I deployed. I think the last time I deployed was like 5 months ago, which obviously, last time I deployed, they were still on version 7 for the RPC. But now they are in like version 10. So I was getting an RPC error, which is what I don't want to waste time changing. So who is deploying for me? Satin, right? I've given you the source code. Just declare and deploy. So this is simple counter contract. Then for the class, what we'll do is that we are going to initiate a React project, set up Starknet React and Starknet Kit. And then we're going to try to make a simple wallet connection. And then we'll interact with this smart contract by reading the value and also writing to increment to update the value. If we perform these two things, it's going to be a perfect starter to build any dApp on the Starknet ecosystem, no matter how robust it is. Because at the end of the day, every dApp is just reading and writing. So let's try to do that. So who are the people deploying? Give me your emojis if you're already on it. If you are not, let me try one more time on my end. All right. So I think we have a boilerplate project now using npm and React that we could try to play with. So what do I do? Yarn. Yep. Yes. So we're good to go. Now for the guys deploying, are you done?
Yes, sir, there was a tiny problem with the code that I had to fix.
But is it deployed now?
Working on the deployment.
Okay. Is it declared? Did you successfully declare it?
I'm running the declaration now. I'm just about
Alright.
to run it.
the deploy. So I hope it's also a small challenge for everyone here to deploy. Who else who is not familiar with deployment? Deployment. Then you have to meet Sati to help you out. Raphael, 2 people. Somewhat easy, but it's not for the course of this class. I will have given you a rundown of how it works. So we have limited time to achieve what we want. So let me just go straight to the point before Sati finishes. So let's do the first job, which is to set up every necessary thing we need. All right, so this is it. Now let me try to clear the app.jsx so that it's as simple and plain. Let's just say hello world, take out this state. Take out the vibe, logo, all the stuff, so we don't need them. Hello world, perfect. That's what we want. Yeah, so we are going to be installing stuffs using Yarn. So let's add StarknetKit, which is one of the dependencies that's going to help us with the connection. So we're going to use this manual installation guide to do everything. So we work step by step with the docs. And then already do a string, and you say it's manual that led us there. So anywhere we land ourselves from here, you know that it's the docs that caused it, right? And if there's an issue with the docs, we'll know. If everything goes fine and we integrate successfully, we know that, okay, everyone can do it once there's a documentation. So to get started with integrating the StarknetKit SDK in your dApp with Starknet React, you will need to install the StarknetKit package and its peer dependencies. So the following steps, okay, no. So let's install that one first. So let me split the terminal and then I clear and I'll paste this yarn at StarknetKit. Yeah, is there any hand?
Yes,
Deployment is done.
yes, but I think I got lost in the class because of trying to deploy, so I will have to drag the pool back.
Nothing serious that we discussed. I just spinned up a React application.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing serious. So I think my version is not global. I've just been trying to set it up since. So we spinned up a new React project, and now we are installing StarknetKit into it. You know what StarknetKit is? Perfect. So we have StarknetKit installed, and let me get the address so that we know what we are working with. Yeah, so Leopero, you can work with Next.js, you can work with React, anyone you want to work with at all, you are allowed. It works. Anyone, React, Next.js. All right, so just paste the link. Sati, can you send me the contract address in the chat? Hello.
I'm trying to.
All right. So before he sends it, let's be sure our installation went well. If I check package.json, I'm supposed to see StarknetKit added. So I'm not going to be doing any styling to this. We'll just work with the bare minimum. Except you guys want me to set up Tailwind for easy stuffs, which would have made sense. So while he tries to deploy, let me just set up Tailwind so that styling will not be like that much cumbersome for us. So now we are setting up Tailwind for styling. It's not rocket science. So another dependency in check, and this is how you set up Tailwind. I'll find the config. Is this thing correct? I hope this works, but if it doesn't, then for the plugins, we'll add this guy. Then in our CSS, we are going to import this. One. Yep. All right, so let's restart. Is this hope? All right, so Tailwind is set up, and we are good to go. So with this styling is possible. So what we are building, let me just apply this here. It's just a simple counter tap. Let's make this blue or gray. So nothing serious, just a simple counter tap. SAT should be done by now. Perfect. So we have our contract address available. So let me get this and then open it. Okay. It says not deployed. What is happening? Okay, I know what this might be. I know what the problem can be. Yep. So I told you guys. Now, what happened is at times when you deploy a smart contract, it might not, the update in StackScan might not be available. So you have to go and check it in Voyager before you see that you can access it. Like if you notice from this link in StackScan, it was saying not deployed. Meanwhile, it is already deployed, but it's showing on Voyager, but in StackScan, it has not been propagated. So what the best thing is you guys could just wait a little longer. If you don't want to go to Voyager to check it, you could just wait a little and it's going to propagate in StackScan, but it might take just a little bit of long time. All right, so this is our contract. Let's access the read. So we have a function that we can read here, which is the get value. And then, right, we can choose to increment or decrement the value. So for those of you who are already familiar, let's read. So this is the ABI. This is the ABI here. You can find it under code. And then this is not verified yet. We will have checked out the source code. But let me try to see. It's not verified. So if it was verified, we can be able to read the source code. But for now, we already have what we need, which is the ABI and also the contract already deployed. So let's try to interact with it here first before we go further. So let's get value. If I try to query now, which is a read action, you can see it returns the value in hexadecimal. I can also check it in decimal or in text, which is 0 currently, to show that nobody has interacted with this. Or I can choose to write. So let me increment. So let me add it by 10. For this to be possible, I have to connect. So let me connect with my Ready wallet. So I'm connected. Now let me try to transact. Perfect. So if I confirm, it should increment. So if I go back to read now, our new value, guess what is going to be? Yes, you guessed right, 10. So this is what we are going to be doing, but this time around, we're going to create an interface that is going to help us interact with this contract instead of coming to Voyager to be able to interact with it. Are we clear? Someone's hand is up. Is that a question? All right, so let's get to business now. So you guys have already seen like end to end what we want to achieve, right? And then we have speed up our front end already. So it's just to set it up and then continue working. All right. So back to the documentation. Which is the StarknetKit guy. Okay, so now we have added StarknetKit, and then we are now going to be setting up the Starknet provider. So the Starknet provider is more of a component that helps to provide the context of the Starknet connection and also the interaction into our application. So we need to set up this provider. That in the provider, we're going to set up what the connectors are, set up all the necessary configurations we need, and what have you to be able to interact. So basically, this is it. So let's try to set up the provider now. So nothing serious. Let's just try to create a new page and call it Starknet provider .csx. So this way we're going to be doing all the magic. All right, so in the provider, we are going to import the necessary connectors we need, and then the configuration. So this is one. Let's try to import all the necessary injected connectors. Then let's copy and paste this guy. Here, and then these are the different connectors. This connector is for Agent X and also for Bravos. We can choose to add more, but for now, we could just work with these two. Then lastly, we are going to set up the Starknet configuration, which is going to return this config. Yep. So I think this is supposed to be a component. Yep. And then I'm going to copy and paste this guy, which is what I want to return. All right. So the other things I'm going to be getting are going to be from Starknet React, which are stuff like the configuration and all of these other stuffs. So let's head back to Starknet React and try to get them. All right, these are the connectors. Okay. All right, so this is what I'm going to be needing: the config, providers, etc. So you can see all the, I can get the Starknet config from Starknet React. So now I'm going to try to deploy, install Starknet React into our project before we can be able to have access to all of this. So let me add it, yarn, add at Starknet React. Let me be sure before I go and install another different dependency. So let's check out the documentation for Starknet React and how we could get started. What's happening? All right, so this is it. This is a simple installation. Starknet React is a collection of React hooks for Starknet. It combines the following packages: Stack Query, Starknet.js, and ABI1 Canabi. I've never seen this one before, to be honest. They say it's for safe contract calls, but I work with Stack Query for data fetching and also Starknet.js. I told you guys most of this framework like StarknetKit and Starknet React that I mentioned, under the hood, they are still working with Starknet.js. So this is how to get started. We start by npm adding stuffs, but we are using yarn, so we'll just say yarn add. Then we'll configure the necessary things that we need. Yarn add, paste this guy. Yep. Perfect. So whatsoever we're looking for has been installed. And then this is how we could work with it. So this is the Starknet provider. I'm happy that's even done stores for us. So we just need to copy and paste this guy. So let's copy this and the React core. We have most of the stuffs already written down for us. All right. All right, so it's advising I bring in this guy. Okay, so could we just copy and paste this one instead of working with that one? Then I play it. So we use whatsoever they give us. There's no need of this guy here. All right. So we have set up the configuration for StarknetKit. And then this is whatsoever we are going to be needing for the Starknet provider. So this provider is going to give us access to all the stuffs we need, like the different chains a user can connect to within the config, the different providers, the different connectors that we have available for the user to connect with. Then lastly, an explorer for Voyager and stuff. So there are still other things we could add, like let's say if we wanted to auto refresh when or to connect to the last connected connector, we could also add that. There are different stuff, but this is just the main thing. So, and lastly, we are going to wrap our app with the Starknet provider, and then we have access to whatsoever we are going to be needing. So let's wrap it up. So since we've created, now this is our main app, right? Our app is main.jsx. So let's try to import. So we import Starknet provider from here, and then yes, with this, we have just set up the Starknet provider with our React application. So with this, we will have access to methods that could connect a wallet, deploy, interact with a smart contract, etc. So this is using the cartridge controller, but we're not going to be working with this guy, though it's super easy. All you just have to do is to change the connector. Instead of using all connectors, you just add the cartridge controller connector in there. All right, so what's the next thing we have to do? So now is to try to connect. Okay. Okay, so now we are left with two things. We could choose to connect either with Starknet React or with Starknet Kit. Anyone at all, any of them can work. Since we are working with both hand in hand, right? So let's work with this guy, the wallet connector with Starknet Kit, since we have set up the provider. So now we have to bring these stuffs. Where do we integrate this? I think let's just do everything in app.jsx and we are good to go. All right, so let's take it gradual and then let's take out the necessary stuffs we are going to be needing. All right, so let's fetch these two guys. App.jsx, and we paste it here. I don't think we need this styling, right? Then we set up the relevant stuffs we need. This is the disconnect for disconnection, or let's connect first. So const connect and use connect. So you can't get connectors for us. Let's see, all the structure elements are unused, okay, but now they are used, so error is gone. Then now is to write the function to be able to connect a wallet. So this is it. You could trigger it with this function called function connect wallet, and then it uses the StarknetKit connect modal, which is found from StarknetKit, and then it pops up that modal that I showed to you guys at first, that shows you all the different connectors that we selected. Then it awaits a connection from the connect method, which is found in use connect. So we'll just copy and paste this guy. No need for any orishi. Yes, then vice versa. Also, if you want to disconnect, we just call the disconnect wallet with this. But let's work with this guy first. Where do we need the StarknetKit connector? I have a small error. No need. All right, so let me just add a simple button here just to test run, and then I try it out. All right. So let me fix things. Oh. Gosh, oh. Let's try to beautify it a little to look like a. All right. So let's try the connect wallet P to PG Blue. Okay, let's just work with this guy. And excuse me. All right, guys. So this is what I could come up with, as minimalistic as possible. So I can just choose to connect. Now it has pop up the modal for me, and I have access to all the different connectors I will want to work with. If I choose the ready wallet, it's gonna connect and I'm good to go, right? So let me do another button for disconnect. So first and foremost, now we are connected, but we didn't handle it properly. So we have to know if we are connected, it should show us a disconnect button. But if we are not connected, it should stick us to the connect button. Are we clear? But currently we are connected, but we cannot see that we are connected. So let's try to solve that. So I think there is there's a method that can help us out with this. I don't just know if it exists in StarknetKit or Starknet React. There's a method that said is connected so that we can be able to know if a user is connected or not. Or we could try to check out the address. So if there is an address, we know that you are connected. If there is no address, we know you are disconnected. So that's one option, but I think there's a method for this. Let me try to search. Yep. Okay, let me see. Okay, it has no exported member, it's connected. All right, then we work with an address. Or let me reconfirm from Starknet React. All right. Since we can't find it, let's work with the address. So where do we get address from? I think from yes, we can get address from use account. Are you sure it's connected? It's not even there. Okay. So now use account. So it's giving us, we can get accounts. We can, okay, it's connected, is there. Or was this? Okay, then address. Perfect. So let's check now. So we're going to write a simple ternary operator. For JavaScript devs, we know what that is. So the ternary operator is to dynamically, so if it's connected, right, this is the first side, it should show us it shows a disconnect button. So this is going to be the trade-off. But if it's not connected, it should show us a let me just copy and paste this guy and then change the color. Uh-oh. So we're gonna have disconnect, and then we style it. So let's give it P of 2. Yeah, it knows the style in my mind. I love AI. And then the disconnect function is not ready yet. So let's take this out. And we'll try to visualize it. Okay, perfect. So it has updated, meaning we are connected. So okay, I haven't implemented disconnect. So now let's implement the function to disconnect. So it's easy. Disconnect wallets. Use connect. We can also get disconnect from use disconnect, right? So say const supposed to use disconnect, and then we get disconnect from there. So I can just choose to await this thing and just disconnect it. No. All right. So last, let me just add the address here, and I'll say if it's connected. It should just display the address. All right. So I can choose to connect with my ready, and then it's successfully connected. Now you can see my address here. And then I can also choose to disconnect, and it shows I'm not connected. I can connect back, maybe using browsers this time around. I should remember the password. Okay, I remembered it. And then this is my address. So we have just fixed one very huge step in integrating our smart contract with the front, integrating our smart contract with the front end, which is establishing a connection. Why do we need a connection? To be able to sign messages to the blockchain. Without this connection, we cannot be able to sign, though we can be able to read, but we cannot be able to write to the blockchain. So, but we have already fixed one of those steps. So the next thing we are going to be doing now is to try to read from the blockchain. Then lastly, we are going to try to write. So everything is going to be as ugly as hell. So you guys should not mind my design. What I just want you guys to do is to concentrate on building your stuffs after this class. Do gap dash. Okay, before I do that. Okay, so I'm going to create this, and I'm going to call it state value. So this is the value that exists on the blockchain. So I'm going to call it, should I say state variable or storage? Let me just call it state variable, since we only have only one state variable. All right, so this is what I want to achieve. Text dash p Excel. Then let me just give some gap here, like empty 20. Perfect. Then let's make this 900. Font dash bold. All right, so I've done justice, right? So now what's going to happen now? I want to check out the state variable, try to read it. Then I'm going to add 2 more functions. Or let me just create it now so that we'll just integrate and we are good to go. What did I do? Okay. No time. Last name, text. Okay, I'll create 2 buttons now. One is increment. And the other one will be to decrement, if there's any word like that. Is there a word like decrement? Yes. Flex dash O. Then to decrease, I'm gonna make it slate. Yeah, 400 should work. Let's make the test white. Then let's make the text black. Okay, with somewhere on the side, let's say item center. Will this work? No grill with full. Good. Then I'm gonna give a gap. Yes, so this is exactly what I'm looking for. We have done connection. Now we want to read from the state variable. So any value it is, we should see it here. Then anytime we increment, it should increase the value. Anytime we decrement, it should reduce the value. If we do these 2 things, we are good to go. We have 15 minutes to achieve that. So we are going to set up the necessary providers that we need now, and then establish a connection to the smart contract. So Starknet React should help us with that. Or let's use Starknet.js, much more faster. So we're looking for a faster route now. So let's just work with Starknet.js, because all those other ones are hooks and they are easy, so you could use them yourself. But with Starknet.js is the real bare minimum stuff, how it works under the hood. We've done all. But have I installed it? So this is the provider, like I've talked about, that helps us establish connection to the blockchain. Yes. And then we can choose to establish a connection here. All right, so let's get the provider first from Starknet. Do we have, I think we have to install Starknet.js too. But let me check. Wow. Where is the code? Yes. So now we've added Starknet, and let's try to get the provider first and foremost. So here is it. It says get RPC provider from Starknet. Let's try to import it. And then we are good. So let's set up the provider now. It's very easy. This is it. So we could use this using the default RPC that we are working with. So we could just say, let's try to write this down ourselves. Let's say new RPC provider. Then we set it up. Then next, now you have to provide the URL. So there are different URLs you could work with. You could use your own private URL. Let's say you have your own API or your own, from Alchemy or either from Impura, which is your own dedicated one that you could work with, or you could choose to use the public RPC. So for now, let's work with the public RPC for the node URL. But on your own ends, you can choose to work with yours. So to get the public one, I could just get from Constant. I think Constant is from Starknet also, right? So let's try and see. So all these constants are the necessary constants that are saved. So you don't have to like go to copy the link to paste it. They have already saved it embedded in the SDK. So we say constant dot, what are we looking for? RPC, right? What did they use here? Okay, constant.network name dot sn sepolia. So that is going to be the RPC that is going to be used for us. Network name dot. So there are two, either mainnet or sepolia. But in our case now, we are working with sepolia. And then let's try to save this in a variable. So let's say provider is equals to new RPC provider. So that's one. Now, next thing, we are going to try to establish a connection with our smart contract. So now what we want to do is we want to create a smart contract instance. And then I'm going to get this from contracts. So there are two ways. If you want to read only, you will use your provider as this public provider that I work with here. But if you want to be able to write, like I explained, you are going to use your provider as my account. So accounts that we are going to be getting from the relevant connector. So let's set this up now. So to set the contract, I'm going to say const, and the name of this construct is counter contract, right? Let's say counter is equals to new, then contract. So where do I get contracts from? So I'm going to get contracts from Starknet. So this is going to allow me form an instance of a smart contract. So new contract. And then in the contract, I am allowed to pass in 3 parameters. The first parameter is the ABI of the smart contract. The next is the address of the smart contract. And lastly, the provider, which is going to help us with either reading or writing. So let's set up this guy up now. So ABI, where can we get the ABI? I think here. Perfect. So if I go to code and then I check this out, yeah, so this is my ABI. So let me just save the ABI. Let me create a new folder called ABIs. And then I create a new file in it called counter ABI.json. So it's a JSON file. Then it's saved. So now I'm going to try to get the ABI now. So let me import it. So I'll say import counter ABI from ./, ./ABI/counter ABI.json. Will this work? Fingers crossed. So let's put this in object format. First things first, ABI. I'm going to call the ABI counter ABI. Oh. Okay. So let's import all as counter ABI. Then the next thing now is to add the address. Address, and then what is the address? The address that this guy deployed for me. Where can I find it? Here. Yes. So I copy my address. This is the address of the smart contract. Then I paste it here. Some of these things are supposed to be in the env, like the address, but I'll just do it here since I'm not pushing anything to GitHub. So for those of you looking for the code, I have bad news for you. So lastly, I am going to set up the provider. So how did you write this here? Say provider or account. So provider or account, I can just choose to add this guy, this provider that I set up. And with this, I can be able to read from the blockchain or from counter. All right, so to be able to read now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a state variable. Or before I set up the state variable, let's just try to read. So reading is going to be done in a use effect. So why am I using the use effects? Everybody know what a use effect is. A use effect is a React Native hook that runs every time you run anytime you open a page once, or there's a certain change in what is added to the dependency array. So this is a simple way it looks. This is the callback function you accept, which is a function that is going to get run anytime the use effect is called. And then this is the dependency array. So anything we add in this dependency array, if there's a change, the use effect is going to run again. So let's just do this as quick as possible. Now, what I'm going to do here is try to read the counter contract. So I could just, okay, so you cannot run an asynchronous function, or you cannot await directly in the use effect. You have to run an asynchronous function inside of it. I don't know how you guys explain that, but I'm sure every React developer understands what I am trying to do. So this is gonna be this is gonna be an asynchronous function. And then now I'm going to try to await, and I'll say await contract. So what's the contract? Counter, right? That's counter dot, then what is the function I want to interact with? So based on the ABI, if I go back here, let's use this. I want to read, and then the function I want to read is function get value. It doesn't accept any parameter. From the ABI, I can be able to know that. So let's just use the ABI. So it's easy. So you see, I have a function here called get value. It doesn't accept any input, but if you call it, it has an output of uint 256. This is what I want to work with. So back here, I'm going to say counter dot get, what's the function say, value. So if all things is set correctly, then I will console log value. So to be sure this is working. Good. And then in the use effects, I'm going to call fetch data. Now, fingers crossed. Where's our UI? Oh, it's already time. So just give me a small time. Okay, so you see, you already have the new change, which is 10. It's giving me as a big number now, which is 10n. Some of you cannot see it. So I'm going to try to set this and then display it in the front end. So how do I set it and display? So what will happen, I'm going to create a new state variable, and I'm going to call this variable value, and then set value. So this is equals to use state We're going to use React states. Everybody knows what that is. And then on default, the value is going to be 0, or let's just leave it as an empty string. Or it's not supposed to be in an object, it's supposed to be in an array. So in the use states, then instead of console logging this value, what's going to happen is I am going to set value to be I want to convert this. Should I use number? Let's see. Okay, let's set value to value. Then let's try to convert this value now. Because it is coming as a big number. Let's try. Okay, so it works. Value dot to string, and then I don't have to console log this. So what will happen is I am gonna set this guy now to say, hey, if data or if value is not equals to empty, it should show this. Else it should show this guy. Else it should show value. Perfect. So successfully, we are able to read from the blockchain. So as you can see, reading was able to happen even without connecting our wallet or without anything, simply because with the provider, we are allowed to read. But without the provider, we cannot be able to, to write to the blockchain now, we need an account. We do not just need a provider. All right. So now, why this is possible is because of this account. So let's try to change the provider now to have account. So if I change, instead of using this provider, I change this to account, you'll see. At first, it's going to show us 0. What's happening? Account is not connected. So I don't know why I changed to account, but it's not connected, but I'm still getting that. So the best thing to do is to say not account. Okay, not is connected. Okay, no, it's connected. So we have to confirm that it's connected first. All right, so if it's not connected and then there's no account, it's going to show us 0 as default. But as soon as I connect, it's going to use account to be able to fetch that information. Then you can see it's visible now. We have 10. So the last thing we are going to be doing is to try to increment now. So to increment is quite easy. We already have the instance. All I just have to do is to Okay, let me add value as a dependency array. Now, all I just have to do is to call create a function called function increments. So increment is gonna be an asynchronous function, simply because we are going to perform an action and wait for it to be successful on the blockchain. And it's quite easy, right? So I was supposed to set stuffs like we could do a try catch to be able to catch all errors, but it's so unfortunate. I will just alert errors instead of console logging them. So I could just say error dot message, or let's just console log error. Then we want to try this. So first, I'm going to confirm if not account. So that means there's no account connected. I'm going to alert and tell the user not connected. But if there's an account, it should go ahead to await this particular transaction, which is counter dot. Now I go back to the ABI. What's the function I want to call? I want to call the function to increment. So this is it, incrementing. It accepts a value, right? So incrementing accepts a value, but I did not add an input field. So I don't know how far we're going to do it. Hold on, guys. So I could just say counter dot increment, and then instead of adding a date, instead of adding what I want it to increment, let me just tell it to increment by 10. So every time it should just increment by 10 anytime I call the increment function. Then I'm going to add this into the increment button, which is on click, it should increment. All right, so fingers crossed, this should work. No connection, it shows 0. I connect now with my agent, and then I try to increment. So it pops up the modal asking me if I want to make the transaction. If there's an error, I will see, but then there's no error. You can see the function I'm interacting with, which is the increment. You could try to read the call data and other stuffs. This is the estimated fee in Stack. You can see it's relatively cheap. And then I'm going to confirm the transaction. So if this goes through, our new state variable should be 20. I don't know why this, let me try to refresh it manually. So there are different things we are supposed to implement to make this possible. So as you can see, incrementing is done, and then our new state variable has been updated to 20. We can reconfirm from the Voyager this. We could check out all the account calls we made. You can see I just incremented some few seconds ago, after incrementing about an hour ago. Then we could try to read to see what is the real value in the blockchain. As you can see, it's 20. So with this successfully, what we have just done is that we have interacted with a Starknet blockchain from end to end using a client by connecting to an account and then coming up with a Starknet contract instance and then interacting with that contract instance. So I hope you guys have learned quite a few things from what we've discussed today. So with this, we have come to the end of the session. So this is all for today's sessions. You guys can do well to keep building on the Starknet ecosystem. Do well to try this out yourself, because it's not just by learning. You can watch the videos again and you should be good to go with setting up a Starknet project on your front end and integrating any smart contract by reading and writing. So thanks so much, guys, for your time. We have come to the end of today's session.